Blackthorn Woods wasn't a place you went for fun. The locals called it cursed, said the trees grew so thick they swallowed the sun. They whispered about the keeper, a shadow that guarded the forest's heart, a clearing no one ever found and lived to describe. But we were young, stupid. Me, Mia, Lucas and Sarah, just college kids looking for a thrill, a weekend camping trip to prove we weren't scared of ghost stories. I'd give anything to go back and stop us. We set up camp at dusk, deep in Blackthorn. The air felt heavy, like it was watching us. Lucas noticed it first, carvings on the trees, spirals etched deep, curling like they were moving when you blinked. Vandals, he said, but his voice wavered. Mia laughed it off, snapping photos, but Sarah, she stared at the marks too long, her fingers tracing them. That night, we heard footsteps circling our tents, slow, deliberate. No one was there when we checked. The next morning, our compasses were useless, spinning like they'd forgotten north. Mia started humming this strange tune, her eyes glassy. She didn't even seem to notice. We decided to hike deeper, find a signal, maybe a ranger station. That's when we found it, a journal half buried in the dirt, its pages brittle. It was from 1872, some expedition. They'd written about the keeper, how they'd cut sacred trees for firewood and paid the price. It hunts what doesn't belong, the last page read, ink smudged with something dark. By noon, the carvings were everywhere. On every tree, our packs even scratched into the ground. Sarah swore she saw them on her arm, faint but growing. She was shaking, saying the forest didn't want us here. Lucas tried to keep us calm, but then Mia stopped walking. She pointed to a gap in the trees, smiling. "It's that way," she said, like she'd been there before. We followed her, stupid, desperate, because the path behind us was gone, swallowed by vines that hadn't been there minutes ago. The air got colder, the trees tighter, like they were herding us. We found a clearing, not natural, too perfect, like it had been carved out of the forest's bones. The ground was soft, pulsing. Mia stood at its center, still humming, her hands digging into the earth. Lucas yelled at her to stop, but then he froze. His eyes went wide and he whispered, "It's beautiful." He walked forward, straight into the clearing's edge, and the ground, it took him. Roots curled up fast, pulling him under like water closing over a stone. Sarah screamed, clawing at her arms where the spirals were now red, bleeding. She ran, but the trees moved. Swear to God, they moved, blocking her path. I grabbed her, but she was babbling, saying the keeper was inside her, showing her things. Her face twisted, and she lunged at me, fingernails like claws. I pushed her away, and the forest took her too. Vines wrapped her legs, dragging her into the dark, her screams fading like she'd never been there. I was alone with Mia. She wasn't Mia anymore. Her smile was wrong, too wide, her eyes black as the soil. "It needs one more," she said, her voice layered like 100 others spoke with her. The clearing glowed faintly, and I saw it, the keeper. Not a man, not a ghost, but a thing of roots and bone, its limbs twisting into the trees, its face a hollow where faces should be. It reached for me, and I felt it, every fear, every doubt I'd ever buried, clawing up inside me. I ran. Don't know how. The forest fought me, branches slashed my skin, roots tripped me, but I kept moving. Mia's voice followed, singing that damn tune, louder, closer. I saw the carvings everywhere, on my hands now, burning. I stumbled into our campsite, the fire still smouldering like no time had passed. I grabbed my keys and sprinted to the car, the engine roaring to life just as something heavy slammed against the trees behind me. I drove until dawn, until Blackthorn was a speck in my rear view. The carvings on my hands faded, but I still feel them, itching under my skin. I hear Mia's humming sometimes at night when it's quiet. The forest let me go, but I don't think it's done. Blackthorn's still out there waiting. The keeper's patient, and it knows I'll come back. The woods behind our farm weren't like other places. In 1926, those Appalachian hills swallowed sound, swallowed light, swallowed people. Folks called them cursed, said the trees held grudges older than the mountains. My grandmother told me never to follow the lanterns, flickering lights that moved through the fog carried by the lost, souls of settlers who strayed too far and never came back. I was 16, too stubborn to listen. That was before I lost my sister Clara, before I saw the procession. Clara was 8, always chasing fireflies, her laugh brighter than summer. One evening, she ran into the woods after them, her braid bouncing. I was supposed to watch her. I called her name, searched till dark, but she was gone. No tracks, no trace. The town looked for weeks, nothing. Grandma clutched her rosary, whispering about the lanterns. They take what they want, she said. I didn't believe her, not until I saw the lights myself. It was a month later, fog so thick it clung to your skin. I stood at the edge of the woods, rifle in hand, desperate for answers. That's when I saw them, pinpricks of yellow glow, bobbing through the trees, slow and steady. Not fireflies, not torches. Lanterns swaying like they were held by invisible hands. I remembered Grandma's warning, but Clara's face flashed in my mind, her smile, her voice. I had to know. I stepped into the fog, following the lights. The woods changed around me. Paths I knew twisted, trees leaned closer, their branches like fingers brushing my coat. The lanterns stayed just ahead, leading me deeper. I called for Clara, my voice muffled, like the forest ate it. Then I saw them, the figures, pale, blurred, dressed in tattered clothes from another time. Men, women, children, their faces smudged like God forgot to finish them. They carried the lanterns, their flames cold, flickering wrong. They didn't look at me, just walked, chanting softly, a song that made my bones ache. I froze when I saw her, Clara in the line, her dress torn, her lantern swinging. She turned, and her smile, it wasn't hers, too wide, too still, like a mask stretched over something else. "Tommy," she said, her voice sharp, "you came." I reached for her, but her hand was ice, her grip too strong. The procession stopped and the figures turned, their blurred faces sharpening. I knew them, neighbours, friends, people I'd thought long dead. Their eyes were empty, their lanterns pulsing like hearts. Clara pulled me toward a tree, its trunk hollow, wide as a door. The air around it hummed, heavy with rot and sweetness. "We need you," she whispered, but it wasn't her voice anymore, a chorus, old and hungry. The lanterns flared, and I saw inside the hollow, a void endless filled with more lights, more faces, all watching. The lost weren't trapped, they were waiting. Their lanterns didn't light the way, they stole souls to keep the forest's hunger fed. I yanked my hand free, Clara's nails tearing my skin. She screamed, not a child's scream, but something ancient, furious. The figures closed in, their lanterns blinding, their hands reaching. I swung my rifle, smashing one light. It shattered, and the figure holding it crumbled, dust and bones spilling into the fog. The others wailed, and I ran, branches clawing my face, the chanting chasing me like a tide. I don't know how long I ran. The fog pressed against me, the lantern's glow flickering behind. I tripped, fell, and there was Grandma, standing at the wood's edge, her rosary glowing faintly. She grabbed me, dragged me to the farm, muttering prayers that burned my ears. The lights stopped at the tree line like they couldn't cross. Clara's face lingered in the fog, smiling that wrong smile, then faded. The town never found Clara. I never spoke of it, not even to Grandma. She died soon after, her rosary clutched tight. I left those hills, but the lanterns follow me, in dreams, in shadows. The lost are still out there, walking their procession, waiting for someone to follow. If you see lights in the fog, don't go. They're not guiding you home. They're calling you to join them. The whispering pines promised inspiration, a forest in the Pacific Northwest so quiet it sparked creativity. Or so the stories went. I was a journalist, burned out, my book deadline looming like a noose. The locals avoided those woods, muttering about trees that talked. But I needed solitude, a place to finish my work. So I rented a cabin, deep in the pines, thinking I could outrun my writer's block. I was wrong. The forest wasn't quiet, it was waiting. Day 2, I found scratches on my desk, thin, jagged, like claw marks. The locals had warned me, don't listen too long. I brushed it off, old superstitions, nothing more. But the whispers grew clearer at night, weaving through the pines, telling stories I couldn't shake. A girl, lost in the fog, her screams muffled by bark. A ranger, his eyes carved out, smiling as he wandered. I wrote them down, my hands shaking, the words spilling faster than I could think. My book was growing, but it wasn't mine anymore. On the third night, I dreamed of the forest. Trees loomed taller than they should be, their trunks rippling like flesh. Faces pressed against the bark, human faces, frozen, mouths open in silent screams. They whispered my name, Elena, their voices crawling inside my skull. I woke to find my manuscript open. New pages filled with my handwriting, descriptions of my own life, my fears, my failures, things no one could know. The whispers laughed outside, closer now, circling the cabin. I tried to leave, packed my bag, grabbed my keys, but the path to my car was gone. The pines had shifted, their branches knotted tight, blocking the way. My phone was dead, my laptop frozen on a single line. Finished the story, I screamed for help, but the forest swallowed my voice. That's when I saw it, a figure between the trees, tall, jagged, its limbs blending with the pines. Not human, not tree, but something older, its eyes glinting like sap. It didn't move, just watched, and the whispers chanted, "Write or join us." I ran back to the cabin, barricaded the door. The scratches were on the walls now, forming words. Tell our tale. I found an old journal under the floorboards, pages brittle, from a cult that vanished in the pines a century ago. They'd worshipped the forest, offered their souls to become its voice. The trees weren't trees, they were the cult, petrified, their spirits trapped, needing a storyteller to spread their curse. My book was their way out, and I was their new vessel. I burned the manuscript, threw it in the fireplace, watched the pages curl black. The whispers screamed, the cabin shook, windows cracking like bones. The figure was at the door now, its sap eyes glowing, its roots clawing through the wood. I grabbed the journal, tore it apart, scattering pieces as the flames spread. The forest roared, God, it roared, like 1,000 voices breaking free. I ran through the fire, through the pines, their branches slashing my skin, their whispers begging me to stay. I don't know how I reached the road. Dawn broke, the pines behind me, smoke curling from where the cabin stood. My hands were bloody, my book gone. I told the sheriff it was an accident, a spark from the fireplace. He didn't ask about the scratches on my arms, the ones that still itch, forming words I won't read. I hear the whispers sometimes, faint in the wind, calling me back. The pines are still out there, waiting for their next storyteller. Don't go, don't listen. They're hungry for your words.